We are rolling. Timer starts now. Mark. Oh, hi.
Hi.
I'm Ford.
And I'm Sky.
It's good to see you.
These are not our real names. Also, it's good to see you.
Yes, it is. Sorry, I'm already off script.
These are not our real names. They're
No.
superhero names. With our powers combined, we are the writing partnership of L.Skyford. Welcome to L.Skyford Live.
Yes, welcome. In these shorter episodes that we're doing here, we're talking about book news. We're talking book birthdays. You can go back and watch our February book birthdays. We had a good time. I thought we had a good time. Maybe we didn't. Maybe you're not going to call me tomorrow. It'll be fine. It'll be great. We're also going to do book reviews, like what is happening here today. Thank you for coming. You can follow us on all of our social medias. There will be a QR code at the end of this video. If you're listening to this and not watching it, we give great face. So you really should be putting your eyeballs to our eyeballs. Sometimes there are dogs in our videos and you won't know if you're not watching. Okay. So stick around, QR codes with all of our socials at the end. I'm not going to bother you. I sure did just realize that we never gave the people Lolo's Instagram handle from our previous episode, or from our book birthdays episode, rather. Yeah, I'll have to do that. Somebody's going to have to ask me for it. You know what? Come to me if you want to follow my dog on Instagram.
Or, do a Lolo post. Just like introducing a doggo from our lives.
Exactly. Our pet posts get the most traction, so we really should probably be playing that up.
There you go. I will say that we are on Twitch at L.Skyford and on YouTube at L.Skyford because I'm a jerk and I couldn't sign up for the same accounts on both.
No way. This and every episode chock full of spoilers, so much oversharing. And definitely rated E for explicit. So put your headphones on. Don't listen to us in the car with your kids unless you're cool like that. So if you are, thumbs up.
Today we are talking about The X Talk by Rachel Lynn Solomon. Yay!
Yay!
But first,
yes.
Go ahead. But first, talk about this book.
I've been so excited to read this book since like the summer of last year. I learned about Rachel Lynn Solomon from Pitch Wars, and they just seem like great people. I have been excited about that, and so I'm so excited that we're talking about it today. Okay, we'll come back to my excitement. I'll bank it. I'm tamping it down.
Set it aside for a hot second.
Let's check in.
How are ya?
I'm still not sleeping. I don't know. Can you tell? I'm just hyped up on caffeine because I'm not sleeping.
I'm sorry. That is frustrating.
That a serial killer was trying to eat my throat, but I ran away. And then I was awake at 3 a.m. So it's great. Everything's great. How are you?
Well, I appreciate the 3 a.m. DMs because that is, I always know that if it's a DM, then it's not an emergency. So I feel like you really set me up to not stress out, but to be worried about you being awake at 3 in the morning. So yes, I am fine. I need the weather to decide if it's cold or it's hot because I'm confused. And I know that, I'm not in New York, so there's not like 4 feet of snow, and I'm not stuck in my house, not for any reason, so I should not complain.
I feel really guilty because it's February and we have the windows open and people are talking about their snow days at work, and I'm just like, I'm sorry, I'm wearing a t-shirt today.
Yeah, so I just needed to pick a lane and stick with it. My sinuses are really impacted, which normally is just frustrating, but in the current climate of upper respiratory infections are all super scary. every time that happens, I'm like, I already have one foot out the door to go get tested. So I just like, I need one, like one less stressor on my plate. And I realized that I can't control the weather, but boy, do I want to. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, at least it's not windy anymore.
That is true. The wind was very bad as well for all sinus related things. Very, very
everything
bad.
was crazy.
For everything.
Oh. Okay, is that enough about us? Can we please talk about the X-Talk?
Yes, we can talk about this book. Yes.
Hey!
All right, so here's how then. So here is the cover.
So you can get it twice. Here's twice.
Twice. Well, let me move this out of your way. Hold on. And then there you go.
I can't frame a thing. There we go.
There you go. Now it's framed properly. So I do have to say, just in terms of cover love, I love that in the book, there's a description of the poster that is created for their podcast. And this graphic is what is described as the logo for their podcast, and I sort of love that is also the cover of the book. So in terms of synergy, well done.
Yes.
So whoever supervised the design of the cover clearly read the book, and I appreciate that, because if you go back to previous episodes, you will know how much I dislike a book cover that does not coincide with the book.
Unless it's got a sexy man chest cover on it, which
I mean, I still want to know why, right? Like,
that's true. Right.
There have been those two.
I also love this book cover. I'm very excited. I'm hopefully going to be getting my stickers very soon, and I'll be able to put a sticker somewhere, maybe on my Kindle. I don't know. Haven't decided yet. So anyway, it's a very cute logo, and I'm very here for it.
Very nice. All right. Elevator pitch?
Yes. Do you want me to do it?
No, it's fine. I wrote it, so I can elevator pitch.
Great.
So The X-Talk by Rachel Lynn Solomon is about Dominic and Shay, and they're hosting a radio show together on which they are pretending to be ex-lovers. In real life, they're getting closer and closer, but will their budding romance ruin their show success? Well, I wrote a lot of R's and L's together, and I could not get that sentence. So it came out on January 26th of this year, and here are the tropes.
So many tropes.
Quite tropesy. Quite tropesy.
As our friend Jen put it, it's the tropiest trope book that it had ever troped.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, kicking a thing. Getting comfortable over here.
There you go. Yeah, very nice. So it's enemies to lovers. There is only one bed. It has never been this.
There's only one point. Yeah.
There's only one bed. It has never been this good, which is.
I had to add in forearm porn.
That was oh, okay.
A lot of good forearm male. I never had a thing for forearms. I'm a bicep kind of lady. Okay. I like a nice bicep on my men.
I like good fingers for self-evident reasons, but also like good looking fingers, like long, graceful. I sort of get a body part thing, but it's definitely it has ulterior motives of liking the fingers. But
sure.
I like your next one. He's tall and she's short. Yes, the 6'3" men. Like,
yes, they're everywhere.
Why are all the men 6'3"? Where have they all been my whole life? Because I've not met that many 6'3" men. I know one, two.
You know more. You probably know more than you think.
But like, still two, possibly two. Possibly two. That's it. All right. Sexist boss. That I don't know if that's a trope, but it's definitely in a lot of.
It's a common bad guy personality trait is that they're a misogynist asshole.
Yes. And then
Yeah.
I like the next one you wrote in, Jewish romance. Let's make this a trope.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's make it a trope. I think that'd be great. That'd be fine.
It's
Uh,
it's delightful. I just have found, at least especially in the past year or so, like there was a huge resurgence of all of these holiday romances, and so a good portion of them were Jewish related. And like I really liked how this book embraced her Jewishness, and it was just really nice. I
oh,
I like it. I'm into it. Judaism is a religion that does not make me go ugh. They're always like, "Come, have apples and honey.
I mean, yeah, you should.
Let's
You should have
let's
apples and honey.
let's have a mitzvah. Let's do a mitzvah." And I'm like, "Great, cool,
Yeah, yeah,
good
that.
vibes always."
Good.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a lot of those. There's a couple of other. Yeah, most. I'm gonna say yes, mostly.
Oh, great, great. Look, I know all of my Judaism from you, so you should
Maybe
probably tell me about the bad parts at some point.
I was gonna say maybe I am a poor representative of what we're going for here. So overall, likability of this book. I'm interpreting from the bouncing up and down in your chair that you liked it a bunch.
I did. It's a 4-star book for me. I rounded up to 4 stars. It was a solid 3.7, 3.8 for me. Um, I it's a lovely, solid book. I think the public radio flavor of it was really fun and unique. I thought that Dominic and, why have I just forgotten her name?
Shay.
Shay, thank you. I thought that their banter was hilarious, and it was just enjoyable. I read it in almost one whole sitting, so that's the mark of a solid read for me. Yeah.
Uh, I had an interesting relationship with this review actually. So I originally wrote a 3-star review. You can find it on our website and our book reviews, and I'm gonna keep both versions of it in there and like point out where it's worth. So I wrote a 3-star review. I said some stuff, and then I kept thinking about it, and I went back and I wrote more. And I revised to a 3.5, maybe even 4. On Goodreads, I think it's marked as 4, and why I changed my ratings.
Ooh.
So I mean, we're going to talk about it here too.
Yeah.
So at first it was like, I can't relate to Shay at all. She has a house in one of the toughest housing markets. She's not even 30. She's been at her dream job from college onward for 10 years now. And yes, the story is about the fact that she's realizing that this, though it was a dream job when she started it, it isn't one anymore. But I was like, I don't, like, what are you complaining about, woman? I don't understand. I can't relate.
Sure.
I can't relate.
It did kind of have first world problems vibes.
A little bit it did for me. And so my first reaction was like, I don't get it. And then I was like, you know what? Maybe I don't get it because I'm jealous. Because I am older than 29, and I do live in a very competitive housing market, and I do not have an option, a possibility of owning a house. And though I have held jobs that are in my favorite field, and some of them have been my favorite jobs, absolutely hands down, I do not, even after 20 years in the field, I do not have the financial security to job shop or job hunt like she does for 6 months, right? So it's like, I'm just jealous because she figured, like, she's got it and I don't, right? And so it's not that I can't relate to her because she's not relatable. It's because I'm apparently just not that good at adulting, and I'm jelly.
Or the difference is between our career choices and public radio has more dollar bill signs.
Maybe, or more stability, more guarantees. Though she does speak to the fact that there's not a lot of jobs in public radio and that public radio does not pay as well as commercial radio does. There is a commentary about that. It just, so basically, I had a hard time relating to her, possibly for personal reasons, possibly for her reasons. I gotcha. I pushed a button. I
Cool.
I didn't mean to. Basically me and buttons today. So yeah, so I had a hard time with Shay. I loved her mom. I need to meet her mom and that pantsuit. And so I wrote that Dominic was really two-dimensional originally, and then I went to rewrite the review and I was like, nope, he's still pretty two-dimensional for me. So that's not changing. I loved the nod to public radio, and Rachel Lynn Solomon used to work in public radio, so this is truly an insider who absolutely loves public radio, writing about it. So that's truly lovely. And yeah, and I mean, their banter, their, like, how quick it is, how believably it is radio, how believably it is the two of them finding a rhythm together, all of that is lovely. I just, like, as main characters, I didn't gravitate towards either one of them, and so it was hard for me to really root for them.
That's an excellent point that I agree with. I was just kind of being tugged along by the story, by the elements of the story and what's happening next. But you're right. I mean, the thing I liked the most about Shay was her connection to radio was in memory of her father. And I thought I really liked that was her touchstone. And she always came back to that until coming back to that became the problem, which I thought I liked that bit. I mean, we've kind of started your first question, or I guess your third question. How do you feel about a 29-year-old with a house and a 10-year job history?
So I wrote that, and then I was like, wait, you own a house and you have a 10-year job history. I'm not throwing shade. I'm not at all.
And that's what I was going to say, that I can't really relate in that way because of those things. But as a 35-year-old person with a home and a job that I've essentially been doing since I was 13, I'm very blessed. And I know that. And I know that I also have a lot of these opportunities because I'm a white person. So I'm very thankful, and I know that I'm very lucky in this life. And I also have a spouse who thinks about saving money and budgets nearly constantly. So much so that we have to have a rule where he'll turn to me and he says, babe, can you look at the budget with me at some point today? I have to prepare myself. He has to prepare me so that I can join him in his land.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's great.
So it's great. It's really great. But I know that is not the case for everybody. So maybe that's why I didn't think it was so hard to relate. I am very mad about the number of bedrooms she has in her house because I would love, one more, or like one more bathroom would be really great. I'd love to have 2 bathrooms. It'd be really good for 3 people. So, yeah. And it's, working at one place for 10 years is much different than I've worked in my field for 10 years at 100 places. So a bit of a difference there. So yeah. It's, it levels out my feelings on that subject.
Okay. So, and obviously, you know my feelings already because I shared them. What was really, like, was there a particular part of this book that you were like, this really grabs me more than anything else?
It was always their dialogue. Like, I was always waiting for their scenes together, just because of the witty snark. And I laughed out loud, which is a very rare thing for me. I don't, like, people are like, this book's a rom-com, and I'm like, okay, and I won't laugh out loud at all. but I laughed out loud in this book and snorted. I will admit I snorted out loud. So I was always kind of waiting for that. I thought the Orcas Island house
one bed
arc, the one bed trope, and the vulnerability of that they gave each other in that scene was really nice. And I mean, it was the spark of the whole thing, so of the whole physical relationship. So I'm here for that. I also stand.
Nice.
Yeah.
For me, it was when she's further in the book, she's sitting on her couch and she goes back and she listens to her and her dad's recordings. And like, it doesn't actually further the storyline. And I actually thought that there was going to be something about those recordings. Like she would convert them into some sort of auditory storytelling, and that does not happen in the book. But just sitting with the voice of someone who's gone was like this giant punch in the gut for me, possibly because that is a thing I can relate to. And I don't have recordings, but I was like, oh, I'm gonna get that bottle of wine now. Sounds like like I should get that bottle of wine now. So that moment, like that scene, will stick with me for a while, and it's because it just gutted me absolutely. And then, like I said, it doesn't really have a resolution. It just exists for like an emotional low, and it absolutely did that for me.
Nice, agreed.
Okay. If so you don't like enemies to lovers, and when you first started reading this, you texted me and you were like, no. So tell me how that turned out for you.
So I had an idea of what this book was about, and I know I apparently was super excited for 6 months with knowing nothing until I bought the book and read the back, because I thought they were exes that fall in love again. So I thought it was a second chances book, and I was super excited about a second chances book. And then it became a workplace enemies to lovers deal. And so, like, fine, whatever. They were also like quasi enemies because like he never checked the schedule, but he still got these forearms, and like she was always attracted to him, but he was annoying.
He was annoying. They weren't. Yeah, it's more like annoyances, not enemies. Agreed.
Yes.
I actually didn't think, like, he's very nice. He's a nice person, and so it's hard to be antagonistic towards him. Except, again, he's a little bit two-dimensional for me. Like, we never, ever really understand. Okay, we is a broad spectrum word here. I never understood the whole grad school arc. Like, he keeps throwing out the fact that he went to grad school, and so did I, and maybe I do this too.
You don't.
But at some point he just stopped doing it. But there was never like a why he sort of at one point says that he did it, or he always thought that she knew more than him about the business and he was intimidated. And so maybe that's why, but like he never connects the dots for us. And so it's just this like thing that exists as an annoyance and then it disappears. And I'm like, grad school feels like a prop. And I don't know if we, like, that seemed like a strange prop to then leave in Act 2, to use an entirely theatrical metaphor for this.
Yes. I think you're right in that it was a prop. It drove so many of the jokes, and so much of the banter. And it almost, like, there's a way you could think about it in that she shamed him into not talking about it anymore.
I mean,
by making so many public jokes about it.
Yeah, maybe it didn't quite click for me as to, so it felt like there was a fit and then psh, but then and shh is sort of how I feel about the back end of this book.
Sure. So there's a waterfall somewhere in Act 3.
There is. And some of what falls, I was like, oh, that should have arced. It shouldn't have fallen. But we'll get to it in a second. I want to know, before we get there, so the note I wrote is, Dominic, question mark. And your note back is, that's all I get. That is all you get.
Yeah.
Because to me, he is so two-dimensional that I couldn't even come up with like a decent question about him. So my question is, what, like, I guess, why do you think that he needed to be so like, there is one thing about him that I think is great. There's one scene in which they talk about interracial romance, or the assumption of Korean people dating other Korean people, and that is the obvious choice. And so there's a very good discussion, a very frank discussion about the assumption of pairing for people of color with other people of color, and how that is racist. And that is like, that scene, I was like, that scene is everything, and it's fantastic and lovely. But he sort of disappears into this kind of a whitewashed version of himself the rest of it.
Yeah. And like, we learned that he's had one serious relationship before, and it got really tough when she was in this accident, which I thought that was a very interesting way to take that story. Like, she was in a terrible accident, and then when she got better, after he helped her nurse her back to health, like, she was like, nah, I'm good. Like, that feels, I'm like, oh, that woman had a well-rounded life. She made a choice for herself. Glennon Doyle would be proud of her.
Yes.
Right?
I think so too.
So, but like, I guess maybe the crux of it is that everything we learn about Dominic is being told to us. So it's a showing, not telling issue, maybe. And that's why we don't connect to him. There's also a bit of, he is a journalist. Like, he is supposed to be very, like, direct and truth relating and hard hitting and whatever. And so does that, because he as a person dives into things, does that mean that we don't get to dive into him? Does that make any sense at all?
Yeah, I mean, not everyone has hidden depths, I guess, and some people are reflective rather than introspective, and he might be one of those people. I don't know, like, I have all of these pieces of information about him, but I still didn't really feel like I got a fleshed out person out of him, because I can tell you a lot about him, but not of him, if that makes sense.
Right. He's a pretty grad school graduate journalist.
With good forearms.
He's a pretty boy.
And
with great
khakis.
Forearms and good hair.
Good hair.
The khakis. So
okay.
Yes.
So, most important question of the book, obviously, well, maybe not obviously, if you could host a successful, like, the success of your podcast is guaranteed, what is your podcast about?
I mean, the one we do about books.
If that could be guaranteed success, that would be amazing.
I'm a self-described lazy person, so if it was like a Big Brother type of, not quite a podcast, but maybe a thing where people just watch me read a book while I drink tea, then I don't have to talk to people. I don't have to interact with them. I get to do what I love, which is reading books and drinking tea.
Perfect. I think NPR is looking to fill a slot.
In their new visual digital podcasting.
In the visual digital podcasting, yes.
Would it be called VODs? Vodcast.
Vodcasts. That sounds like you should also send them a taster of vodka for listening. Or for tuning in.
Right? Slancha. All right, so Shay had a misogynist boss who loved Dominic and, like, made her take notes in every meeting. How would you have handled a boss like that? Or have you had a boss like that?
The entire industry is chock full of people who definitely know better than me, or have pants on better than me. And and so there's definitely been a bunch of those. I have definitely not handled my misogynistic bosses well. I feel like this is a job interview question. And I'm definitely working on it, but I still find myself in a lot of instances falling on the like societal excuses, just like Shay does, of like, oh, it's just the generation they grew up in, oh, it's just the societal pressures. And I am actively and daily working on not starting all of my emails in an apology, because I, despite all my bravado, absolutely have been doing that for fear of losing my job more than once, in more than one position.
Sure.
And so it is a work in progress.
How do you, sort of sidebar question, how do you feel about male allies coming and supporting, like Dominic does, where he's like, no, I think I support Shay's idea, we should do it. Like, do you think those situations are helpful? Or allies like that?
In that particular instance, it actually didn't read to me as allyship. It read to me as a reinforcement of the misogyny that was happening, because she said it and it was not acknowledged. He said it and it was acknowledged. And then after that conversation happened, Dominic confirms that this in fact is not in her head, and the idea went through because a man said it. So in that instance, it actually just so instead of Dominic drawing attention to what she was saying by being like, hey, she is saying this and you should listen, Dominic just repeated what she said. And the only difference between that and other instances of it is that we were in on it, so we knew he wasn't doing it from a malicious place. So we knew he was doing it to illustrate a point, but he still didn't give her credit. He still said, the idea went through because it was Dominic's. So I do not think it was allyship in this particular instance.
So in the book, Dominic and Shay lie to their audience that they were in a relationship. I consider that to be a white lie. And it's characters. They're playing parts. We know about actors. Do you think it's a white lie, and how do you feel moralistically about white lies?
So, agreed on the white lie, and pots, kettles, we don't have real names.
That's so
like, that's the whole answer. Right? Like, everything is performative. Everything that is for consumption by other people is in some way performative. And some of it may be extremely honest, and some of it is likely not as honest as it would be, because then it wouldn't be entertaining. So, pots, kettles, glass houses.
I feel attacked in a good way, in a very let's open my ribcage up, let's talk about it, because I feel personally that what we do here is pretty honest, like as honest as it can be without us saying each other's real names. Like, that's my goal, is you're gonna watch me drink my cup of tea, I'm gonna not wear makeup like I never do, I'm gonna come in a comfortable t-shirt, no bra, because this is real me, and then I'm just going to not tell you my name because I want to have some boundaries. So that's how I feel about this. I'll just close my chest cavity back up now. I hope that's okay.
So no, but I think honestly, though, that's what they do in the book. Beyond the bit where they have never dated before, they are just themselves, right? Genuinely so. Their banter is real. The scripted parts of their relationships end really early on in their podcast, and then they sort of just talk about other people. If there is more than that in their lie, we're not privy to it, and so I didn't feel moralistically too upset by what they were saying. Yes.
Do you tell white lies?
I try not to. Sometimes I will reassure my directors that
Yeah.
I got it, that I am fully capable of delivering the show they're looking for. And it is not really a white lie so much as it's an aspirational statement.
Sure. Yeah.
Right? I
You're
fully
not there
believe
yet.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I fully believe that it can be done, but there are instances in which I say that and I don't believe it myself necessarily, not in that moment. So I do feel that our industry is full with aspirational statements that are sometimes not necessarily truths. I truly try my damnedest not to tell white lies to my children for any reason.
Yeah.
So there was like a
That's
whole Santa Claus kerfluffle, and we've had really honest conversations about my mom being dead, not gone, but dead, so that so that presence and absence are things we can talk about.
oh,
Sometimes
that's
it
nice.
is super hard on me, but
Uh-huh.
it's a thing that we've decided to do, and I have never regretted making that choice. But it does mean that like the grandparents for the holidays were like, Santa's gonna eat the cookies, and the kids were like, someone's gonna eat the cookies, but it'll probably be a parent.
Man, I love your sass, or your kid sass, that is. That's
They
fantastic.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Have you ever been to Seattle? This is like the third Seattle book we've read in so many months.
I know.
Have you ever been?
I want to say I've been in the airport, but I've never been in Seattle.
I see.
And actually, sorry, I take that back. I have been on like one night only on tour. It was dark when we got there. We drove through. We saw the Space Needle. And then when we left, then we were indoors and in hotel rooms the entire time. And then we left in the dark. So technically, yes, I have been to Seattle. I want to say I went out of the hotel and down the street and had a meal at midnight in Seattle. So there is a receipt somewhere in my life that has a Seattle address on it. But that is it. That is the extent of it. I absolutely want to go back for like a real life adventure versus like a get in a car with a driver you don't know and and then rinse and repeat. Yes, so I have been, but it was not memorable in a way I wanted to be. How about you?
Sure. I lived outside of Seattle for 2 years in third and fourth grade. So I am basically a Seattleite. I mean, my mom worked in a coffee shop, so that's as real as it gets for Seattle. Yes, and I've been there a few times since, both on tour or we did a family vacation to the islands. We didn't go to Orcas Island like they do in the book. We went to a different one. I like Seattle. I like it a lot. It rains 360 days a year, and the other 5 days it's snowing. But I like its vibe. It's very hippie. It's artsy. I dig it. Excellent. So the first sort of not quite intimate scene that Shay and Dominic have, he presses a cold glass of water to her cheek. Is that sexy to you or not sexy to you?
I
let me demonstrate.
So I got what she was like, the sensation of heated skin and the cold glass as relief. I got where she was going with it. If someone was pressing a cup to my face, I would have many questions, and none of them would be, can we take this horizontally?
Would they all be, what the fuck are you doing?
Why must you be so weird?
Delightful. Yeah.
So it was an unusual object fetish, I would say. Never have I ever read this object fetish before.
But have you ever explored like with an ice cube in bed?
Oh yeah, definitely. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's kind of the preamble to that
Oh, yeah.
experience is what I
Like I said,
yeah.
yeah, like I said, I understand heated skin, cold object thing. I totally make
Mm-hmm.
sense. But like a bunch about that scene was like, mm, sure,
Was it
sure.
was it that it started with her thinking about climbing up onto the countertop because she's short and couldn't reach the mugs?
No, that made perfect sense to me because I'm short and I climb counters everywhere. I was at Target the other day, side bump Target, I guess, sorry. And I
Just we'll take a sponsorship. That would be fine.
and I had to ask two different employees to be tall for me because even climbing
Mm,
the shelf didn't get me where I needed to be. So I literally walked up to someone and asked them if they could please be tall for me. And then
nice.
the funny
So
part is that this someone came and looked at what I needed and then went, hold on, I have someone in the back, and went and got an even taller person to help out.
oh,
Not like,
that's
hold on,
incredible.
there's a ladder in the back. No, hold on, there
No,
is a taller person in the back.
there's an even taller human. This requires 3 humans stacked on top of each other to reach.
Yes.
Fantastic.
So no,
I
climbing
sure
on the
hope.
counter is a totally real thing that I absolutely do.
So, would you say Rachel and Solomon wrote an accurate short character?
Well, I feel like Rachel Lynn Solomon might be an accurate short character because it
I
felt
think you're
very
right.
from from a real place.
From a perspective known.
Yes. Yeah, I mean she's totally fine. I mean, there was one scene where they magically, like, there's one time when they don't fit together properly and she points it out
Mm.
that he's so tall that their body parts don't align properly. And then there is a scene where they absolutely totally align. In fact, she says it's like we're meant to fit this way. And I was like, no, no, you're no. I need a diagram.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I've often thought that in reading like sex scenes between tall and short people. I'm like, her face would be at his nipple, so that means that their pants bits don't line up either. And yeah.
No,
Yep.
no, they do not. They
Mm-hmm.
do not.
No, they do not
So
at
yeah,
all.
so that I feel like that's the suspension of disbelief in romance novels is when people like slot together or when
Mm.
people are able to carry each other. When so he picks her up, she
Ah.
wraps her legs around him and he picks her up. And I don't know if you've ever attempted this particular piece of acrobatics, but it goes poorly 90% of the time. There's like a
Yes, he
10%
also
yay and a 90% hospital visit.
right. She wraps around him, and then they go up a flight of stairs.
I know. I know. And I mean, like, we didn't really discuss that he was that well built or that well
Yeah.
working. Like, he's not
Mhm.
a football player, and yet suddenly he is carrying 150 pounds up the stairs, precariously wrapped around him while he's not even thinking about walking. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a whole thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of a tropey thing. It's kind of a thing that happens in romance
Mhm.
novels, right? He always walks her up the stairs while she's wrapped around him, and I'm like,
Mhm.
how? And also, why? Could she not
That's
walk?
why I like the sex scene in the Thomas Crown Affair where they just do it on the marble stairs. Like, we can't get up these stairs. There's no way. We're just going to do it right here on these sharp corners.
There's a scene
That's
in a
realistic.
Helen Hunting book, You're My Lucky Charm, something, where they just do it on the stairs because and he's a hockey player in that, so theoretically, like, muscle mass is there, and yeah, they just stops. They just stop on the stairs and they comment on how uncomfortable it is. But getting back to this book, I mean, I feel like there's a bunch of sex tropes in this. It has never been this good, which is one of my least favorite. Also, can we talk about the fact that there are so many women in romance who have not had good oral sex given to them? Like in all of these novels, there are all of these women who are like, I've never come like this before, and then this particular person is like star pupil of oral sex. Behold, you can come this way. But like that's like a whole thing. And we've read so few in which previous romantic endeavors have resulted in properly given oral sex to women, and I just don't understand.
I think it's also the thing where you're not going to be like, look, I've had some really good head, so good luck down there. That's not good. No one's going to put that in a book.
I mean, I would put it in a book, not in that way. Like, because Adriana Herrera has it in her book in Mangoes and Mistletoe, that like she knows exactly what she wants and she gives excellent directions during oral sex, so that the other woman is very appreciative of the fact that the roadmap is laid out and it's kind of a hot roadmap. So like that's a good other version of the universe.
That's true.
Roadhead, and I don't mean it in the weird way. I mean it in the roadmap to good head.
the roadhead. I think, and I'd assume some of it is a bit implied in the in Sanctuary, Rebecca Weatherspoon. You know, because she was a dominatrix. One would expect that that's probably happened to her. So, yeah, it's an interesting thing because I think it says something societally about women in sexual relationships as well.
Yeah, and you're right. In Sanctuary, she tells him exactly how she likes it, and there are really like he doesn't get to figure it out. There's no figuring it out. She's like, this is the way. It's good this way. This is the way. And I'm not saying that like you have to give a roadmap. I think there is something trusting in letting your partner figure it out, but so many of these books are just like, oh, I've never figured this out with a partner before. And I know that it's supposed to speak to the connection and the trust with this particular partner, but there's a part of me that finds it unrealistic. I don't know, maybe because I have a high expectation of my partners, and and that we will be here all day, but you will figure it out. We'll take coffee breaks if necessary.
Coffee?
Water? Whatever.
Fine. Fine. So the thing I find really unrealistic is, does anybody have any pubic hair? No one says nothing about no pubic hair. And I feel like that's a very realistic thing.
Adriana Herrera actually has an entire conversation in Mangoes and Mistletoe about their different, like,
book.
How they both groom themselves in different ways, because one of them has a Brazilian and the other one does not. And they have a whole discussion about, like, why and how. So, but maybe that's, like, in the weird, like, there's not really an MPAA for romance books, but maybe there is an editor somewhere being like, no one will buy this if there's too much talk of pubic hair. Like, maybe it just gets removed out of the conversation because some people are uncomfortable with the word pubic. Who knows? Right.
Or somebody's like, we don't want to take our reader out of the possibility if she has an untamed bush.
Right.
So...
mean, I feel like there are places there are definitely books that mention the hairs through, like, the feel of fingers across hairs through their underwear. This is not that book. This is not that book.
Yes, this is not that one. Nor have I read one recently that has been that one. So, I think that's good. Shall we wrap up?
We absolutely yes.
On X Talk.
Yes. So, big picture, read this, Enjoy public radio, enjoy podcasts. Great dialogue between the two main characters.
Yeah.
Excellent side
Rachel Lynn
characters.
Solomon does great Seattle. She gives
Yes.
great Seattle.
She gives great Seattle.
Real good Space Needle vibes.
Too true.
Yes. We are big fans of hers from Today, Tonight, Tomorrow, so we will continue reading. I've got another book on the shelf that we're going to pass around, so you'll be hearing a lot more about Rachel Lynn Solomon. So just start reading her now, so you'll be caught up for us later.
There you go.
Oh, the script is different. Oh, it's gone. Cool. That's good. Goodbye. If you liked this book review and this adventure in books, please follow us places. Please like and subscribe us. Please tell your friends about us. We are so excited every time we get a notification that we have a new follower or someone comments on our posts. This is a lovely world to be in, and we're happy to be here. So please come join us in our pond. Have you read the X-Talk? What did you think? Tell us your opinions, differing or similar. We're here for all thoughts and feelings. We didn't even talk about the dog. We didn't even talk about Steve Rogers.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
We did not talk about the dog.
So I guess we're just going to have to do another episode just about the dog.
Just about the dogs.
Exactly. All right. So you can follow us on all of our social medias, which we will have a QR code for in just 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. And that's it for us. I'm Ford.
And I'm Sky.
And that's it for L.Skyford Live.
Woo!